Today what I want to talk about, what we'll be talking about is embracing the struggle. Why is that so important? How does it actually help personal development, or even your intuition for that matter? So we're still waiting. Excuse me for the delay. Not sure what's going on. Usually Facebook responds so quickly. Well, I'm just going to continue and hopefully it'll catch up. So, you've heard so often influencers suggest you gotta honor the struggle. I think it's actually good advice, really good advice. Or we hear for our spiritual development, for our personal development, that area, how important it is to embrace the struggle, to accept what is. So my question to my friends is, how in the world does that actually help us in our personal development? How does that actually help our intuition, even for that matter? So that's what we're going to be talking about. And as I said earlier, I was hoping to do this both at the same time on Facebook and here on Instagram. And for some reason, we're not getting that. Maybe it's just not possible to do both. So let me continue here. Excuse the slowdown for that. Honoring the struggle. Well, first step is, it's really inevitable, isn't it? Even the most fortunate of men and women struggle throughout their lives. It's just the way it is. In fact, it's very common for us to have emotional upsets, to be concerned, to be stressed. The reason why, well, there's many reasons. One reason why it's so vitally important to allow us to grow personally, spiritually, is not just because it's inevitable, but because if we're truly growing, if we're truly pivoting, if we're truly learning something new, if we're truly stepping out of the mold, those familiar patterns, that same old, that in a sense keeps us trapped, it's going to be uncomfortable. You've heard this before perhaps, and perhaps you know this. So if that's the case, let this be a friendly reminder, and I'd like to go a little bit deeper. You see, in life we tend to look for what? The path of least resistance. We tend to look for, like a river flowing, for where we just move effortlessly. The danger with that is, when it's comfortable, it could be because it's the same old, a familiar pattern, a familiar route, a familiar pattern, not necessarily what's working. So really the question is it working? Is it helping us to get what we want? Are we actually advancing? Are we actually scaling up? Are we actually doing better? And typically, because of the way our brain is wired, the way we're wired biologically, the number one priority, and again, you probably have heard this, is survival. No qualms about it. And second would be security. Simply meaning that our security, first I say survival, is number one importance. So if anything is actually a threat to our survival, we become defensive. We'll block it. We'll run away. You heard this, fight or flight, or we'll fight it. Even if it's something that's not truly a threat, but we perceive it as a threat, and we're having an irrational fear, or we've got a myth, a superstition, and we're stuck there, it still will cause the brain to go into primitive mode, survival mode, reptilian brain takes over, and we don't learn anything. and we go into defensive mode, and that's when we seek the path of least resistance. And the path of least resistance is not necessarily that which scales up, helps us to grow, helps us to do better. It's usually the same old, same old. So one of the signs that we're truly growing when we learn new information, a new strategy, and we're implementing it, and it feels uncomfortable, or maybe we feel anxious in our gut, that's often a good sign, because it shows that we're truly doing something different. We're about to break a pattern, a mold that has been perhaps holding us back. And if we have that awareness, and then we get feedback that indeed it's helping us to grow or do better, then we want to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So we want to fire, it's called firing and wiring, until it becomes a consistent pattern. So consistent effort, consistent application, showing up consistently. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be free of you don't have to be perfect or free of mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But we do need to show up and be consistent, because a consistent or persistent application is what makes it what? A new pattern. Now, how about your intuition, though? It's interesting. Those of you who know my work, these are the kinds of things that I help you with in the Silva Method immersion of life and intuition system. If you know my work, you've been following it, thank you kindly. I've been since I was 19. I'm 69, so it's nearly 50 years. I started while I was a student at Boston University. I've got to travel the world. I've been so blessed and fortunate that Jose Silva himself, the founder of this program, saw something in me that I didn't recognize in myself. And I was the man that he selected, young man at the time, to join his elite staff. There are only 4 people in the world out of over 1,000 Silva instructors globally. Jose Silva was one of them, and I became one of them, to certify and develop our instructor team and to develop graduate advanced programs for the Silva community. So I tell you this because I'm thrilled, and not to brag, I'm proud of it, yes. I'm thrilled for the opportunity, and I feel such in my heart. It, however, gave me the opportunity to have access to so many different cultures, so many different people in Eastern Europe, in Western Europe, in Asia, in Australia, in all throughout the United States, and learned so much from people, perhaps people like you, and watching and witnessing and helping them to activate and develop their intuition. So as you know, I'm a big fan of intuition. Today, more than ever, I think we need good, sound intuition that we can rely on, because there's a lot of misinformation. I mean, especially during this craziness that we're all experiencing this period of time, there's a lot of conflicting information and opinions, and you wonder, well, who do I really trust? So you get your knowledge, you do your due diligence, you as much as you can, you do your research, and sometimes all you have left, that's the difference, that makes the difference, is what? Your gut, your intuition. And if you've got it trained and developed where you know the difference between when it's wishful thinking or fear or true intuition you can count on, you got it made. Agreed? Can you see that in your life? So here's the point. When you study about intuition and you read some of the literature out there, some of the experts who talk to us about trusting your intuition, often it's been suggested, and I will agree with this to an extent, that when you have a hunch, an insight, a feeling of inner wisdom, and then you apply it and it feels good, it feels right, it feels like, yes, baby, that's usually a good sign. You're looking for that inspiration. Think about it though. I agree, I really do. However, often it could be what? You're feeling good because it's the same old, same old. By our very nature, we seek familiarity. By our very nature, we seek familiarity because we feel safe and secure in familiarity. We know what to expect. And you may even have some friends, family members, who will say, you're young, this is for young people. But they don't dare to do anything different because they're comfortable in their suffering. I know that sounds crazy, but they're comfortable because it's predictable. So it's really a slippery slope, trusting your intuition. And that's why it takes training, my friends, and I hope you'll do more reading, do more research and practice, or perhaps consider joining me in a life and intuition immersion. I'm now doing them virtually during this crazy period of, COVID and so on. Because the only way you could ever, it's a skill, ever really, really trust it is by having points of reference, lots of feedback where you can say, I know what I know. I know that when I have this thought or feeling, I can trust it, and this not to trust it. So my friends, be careful, because sometimes when you feel comfortable, you feel safe, you feel yes, that could be because it's the same old, same old. So I hope this helps. And I'd love to hear your comments. There's somebody come in, Stefan, hello, says hello, say hello, and in April, and I'm not able to pronounce your names. I know these are some of your folks. If I were to wave to you and say, I really appreciate your interest. I really appreciate you listening. Share this with family and friends who could benefit. Thank you so much. Thank you kindly. This is Ken Coscia signing off until the next time. And have a fantastic night and keep getting better, better, and better.